Imagine that you are sitting in a quiet classroom with several people you have never met before. At the front of the room, a researcher shows you one reference line and 3 comparison lines. The lines are labeled A, B, and C, and your task could not be simpler. You only need to identify which line is the same length as the reference line. The answer is obvious. You can clearly see that the correct answer is B. But the first person in the room answers A. The second person also says A. Then the third, fourth, and fifth people all give exactly the same answer. Everyone in the room appears to believe that A is correct. Finally, it is your turn to answer. You look at the lines again, and they have not changed. B still appears to be correct. But now you are the only person in the room who seems to see it. Would you trust your own eyes? Or would you begin to wonder whether you were the one who was wrong? Today, we are not really talking about lines. We are talking about what happens when your judgment conflicts with everyone around you. In the 1950s, psychologist Solomon Asch designed one of social psychology's most famous experiments. Participants were asked to compare lines and publicly announce which ones matched. The task was intentionally easy, and the correct answer was usually unmistakable. But almost everyone in the room was secretly working with the researchers. They had been instructed to give the same incorrect answer at specific moments. The real participant usually answered near the end, after hearing the entire group. At first, the participant often looked confused. They would stare at the lines, narrow their eyes, and check the answer again. Nothing about the visual evidence had changed. But the social situation had changed completely. The question was no longer only, which line is the same length? It had become, why am I the only person who sees something different? Some participants continued to give the correct answer. But many followed the group at least once, even when the group was obviously wrong. The experiment did not show that people were unintelligent or unable to see. It showed that being the only dissenter can feel deeply uncomfortable. Sometimes, we know the answer but hesitate to say it because disagreement has a social cost. Psychologists often explain this through 2 forms of social influence. The first is called normative social influence. This happens when we conform because we want acceptance and fear rejection. You may still privately believe that B is correct. But when it is your turn to speak, you say A. You may fear looking foolish, difficult, arrogant, or strangely different from everyone else. So you exchange public honesty for social safety. This happens in ordinary situations every day. Your friends praise a movie you disliked, so you simply say that it was pretty good. Your manager proposes an unrealistic plan, but everyone remains silent, so you remain silent too. Thousands of people attack someone online, and expressing uncertainty suddenly feels socially dangerous. In these moments, we are not necessarily following evidence. We are following the pressure not to become the outsider. The second force is called informational social influence. This happens when we assume that other people know something we do not. Imagine that an alarm suddenly begins ringing inside an unfamiliar restaurant. Your first instinct is to leave, but everyone else continues eating calmly. You begin to question yourself. Maybe the alarm often goes off by accident. Maybe the other customers understand the situation better than you do. Watching others can be useful when the situation is genuinely unclear. But there is a serious problem when everyone is watching everyone else. The first person may only be guessing. The second person follows because the first person appears confident. The third person sees 2 people agreeing and assumes they must know the truth. Soon, an uncertain guess begins to look like a widely accepted fact. Now imagine a company preparing to launch a new product. The manager begins the meeting by announcing that the idea will be a major success. The engineer believes the schedule is impossible. The designer thinks the product is confusing. The marketing team doubts that customers even want it. But the first employee says, the direction seems fine. The next employee hears this and starts doubting their own concerns. One by one, everyone stays quiet or gives a vague expression of support. At the end of the meeting, the manager concludes that the entire team agrees. In reality, almost no one agrees. Each person simply assumes that everyone else does. This is related to a phenomenon called pluralistic ignorance. Many people privately reject an idea while mistakenly believing that they are in the minority. Silence is interpreted as agreement, and that false agreement creates even more silence. Under the right conditions, this can develop into groupthink. Groupthink happens when preserving harmony becomes more important than examining the decision honestly. People censor their doubts, ignore warning signs, and treat disagreement as disloyalty. Eventually, the group believes the decision must be correct because everyone appears to support it. But Asch's research also revealed something hopeful. When even one other person disagreed with the majority, conformity dropped sharply. That person did not always need to give the same answer as the participant. They only needed to break the appearance of complete agreement. What makes social pressure powerful is not simply that many people disagree with us. It is the feeling that absolutely no one else sees what we see. One dissenter can give several silent people permission to speak. Today, Asch's lines have been replaced by likes, views, rankings, and comment sections. Popularity can begin to feel like proof, even when people are only copying one another. Early comments shape later comments, algorithms promote popular opinions, and dissenters often remain invisible. But rejecting the majority automatically is not independent thinking either. If you choose B only because everyone chose A, the group still controls your decision. Real independence means knowing why you agree and knowing why you disagree. So when everyone gives the same answer, pause and look at the evidence one more time. Then ask yourself, am I seeing with my own eyes, or borrowing the eyes of the crowd? And if you disagree, perhaps your voice will help someone else realize they are not alone.